We have a tendency in digital to act as if we've somehow invented an entirely new discipline in the last 20 years, when in fact very little has changed. All the principles that defined the golden era of advertising and marketing 50 years ago, in particular the work of copywriting legend David Ogilvy, are all the same principles that define great marketing today. Yet for every modern day campaign that embraces those principles, there are 50 that ignore them entirely. Here are some of the most costly to ignore. Number 1, David Ogilvy taught us that long form copy sells better than short form copy. Yes, people may buy an emotion, but to rationalize that emotion they need information. Information about the features and benefits, information about the inner workings of the product, information about how it's going to make them feel and how it's going to affect how others perceive them. Yet due to social media, we now create content that's more superficial than ever. We justify this by saying that people's attention spans just aren't what they used to be, that we only have a few seconds to get across all the key points. Bollocks. No product, bar perhaps commodities or confectionery, is sold in seconds. We may only have seconds to get their attention, but we then have to hold on to that attention for long enough to drown them in rationale for making a decision. And if we fail to do that, it's not because the human brain has fundamentally changed in 50 years, it's because our copy isn't good enough. Secondly, he said to test everything. Now in one sense he'd love this new world, so many statistics, so much data, but how much of it actually relates to sales? Too often we focus instead on follower numbers and open rates and traffic and rankings and other vanity metrics. I'm sure he'd be fascinated in all of that, but only after he'd looked at how much stuff he'd actually sold. Thirdly, he said that everyone in advertising should begin with an apprenticeship in direct response. Again, the digital world should have made that so much easier, and it's certainly true that many brands have made their millions from PPC campaigns, display advertising, and other forms of digital direct response. But what percentage of modern day marketers have actually managed those kind of campaigns directly? And more importantly, been held accountable for their ROI? 20% perhaps? The vast majority have been far too busy creating an endless stream of inspirational quotes for their company's Instagram. Number 4 concerns research, which takes me back to my earlier point about long-form copy. You see, I believe the reason why most modern marketers struggle to create long-form copy is because they do not know enough about their product. So they have no choice but to make it about broader brand and lifestyle factors. When David Ogilvy won his big account with Shell, he spent that weekend reading books about petrol so that he could then write thousands of words about the ingredients and how the product worked. How many modern day marketers would invest that kind of time and effort into product research? Finally, he taught us about the value of big ideas. He said if you have a truly big idea, the wrong technique won't kill it. And if you don't have a big idea, the right technique won't help. There are so many reasons why he was right, and it's something that I've talked about many times before. Yet we're now more channel and tactic centric than ever, exacerbated, I think, by a constant bias towards digital. David Ogilvy would love this new world. He'd love the visibility of data. He'd love the speed with which tests can be conducted. And he'd love the abundance of information for research with which he could construct his long-form copy. Most of all though, I think he'd love just how little the average marketer makes of those assets, and therefore just what an advantage they could give him. See you next time.